This is going to be chapter 37 of the Reappearance of Rachel Price. 37. Belle was awake before her eyes opened, forced out of sleep with a gasp in her throat. She sat up in bed, checked the phone on the nightstand, 2:04 a.m. Something must have woken her, but was she pushed out or was she pulled? A bad dream or... There was a noise downstairs. A rustle, a quiet press of steps. Rachel was awake, moving around. She must be trying to go somewhere, thinking Belle would sleep through. Well, Belle hadn't, drinking too much coffee today and the last 2 nights to make sure she slept shallowly, dipping in and out, to make sure Rachel wasn't going anywhere in the middle of the night. But now she was. Belle swung her legs out of bed, moving as quietly as she could. She thought Rachel might try something like this. Belle hadn't given her another choice. She'd been her constant companion the last 2 days, faked a cough to stay home, sick from school, wouldn't let Rachel leave the house on her own. I have to go to the bank. I'll come too. If Rachel caught on, she never showed it, never hesitated. That's okay, but Belle, I don't like being on my own either. Belle heard another hushed swipe of shoes downstairs, a muted thud, something picked up and put down. She threw on a hoodie and grabbed her phone, navigated to her message thread with Ash. They hadn't texted since Tuesday. She typed, Hope this wakes you. Rachel is sneaking off somewhere. I'm going to follow her. Meet me with the camera. I think this is it. She slid the phone into the front pocket of her hoodie and tiptoed to the door, feet as light as Rachel's. Though Rachel wasn't silent now, Belle could still hear her, shuffling around down there, skulking, shaping the darkness with the sound of her feet. She must have thought she didn't need to, with Belle being asleep and Dad being gone. Belle opened her door slowly, cursing where the bottom edge scuffed against the carpet. She stepped out into the hallway. Rachel would be heading toward the front door soon, Belle was sure. Then probably her car, which was Belle's first problem. But she could follow on her old bike. It was in the garage, and she could be fast. She had everything to lose if she wasn't. Or if Ash left now, maybe he'd get here in time with a car, pick her up, and follow Rachel's trail. See, she could make plans too. Belle was a shadow among shadows, a dark shape among dark shapes, standing at the top of the stairs. She walked down them, weight in her toes before lowering her heels, a quiet sound among quiet sounds. She stepped over the one that creaked and stopped 3 from the end. Looked toward the living room. Rachel was in there still, the scratch of shoes on the rug, the rustle of fabric, the beating of Belle's heart inside her own ears. If Belle headed to the kitchen, she could circle around, try to see what Rachel was up to from the open doorway that adjoined the rooms, get herself ready to follow as soon as Rachel left. Belle crept down the final steps, across the hall and into the kitchen. The tiles cold through her socks. It was pitch black in here too. No light on downstairs, only the weak silver glow of the moon. If Rachel thought Belle was asleep, why hadn't she put on a light? She slid along the counter, hidden from Rachel by the wall between them, past the dining table, stepping over chair legs. Belle pressed herself against the wall, wrapped 3 fingers around the edge of the open archway. Leaning into them, she pulled herself closer, silently, head floating just around the corner, eyes wide and searching. Rachel was standing with her back turned by the TV cabinet. She was holding something in both hands, looking down at it. Belle recognized the swirling gold photo frame. She knew exactly what picture that was. Her and Dad taken during a family meal out at Rosa's Pizza. His arm draped on her shoulder. Carter was a blur walking through the background. Why was Rachel so interested in this photo now? She'd had weeks to study it if she wanted. Rachel bent to replace the photo, a gentle clunk as it touched down. She straightened up in the darkness, standing tall, too tall, half a foot too tall, her shoulders shifting, growing wider than they should. Belle's heart broke free, the flush of its fight or flight heat beneath her skin. She blinked to break apart the darkness to see what she was scared she'd see. Moved out a little farther to be sure. It wasn't Rachel. It was a man. Belle couldn't help it. The noise in her throat, her socks slipping under her. The man whipped around, head snapping her away. He looked just the same, darkness stealing all sense of direction. They stared at each other, these 2 dark shapes, her here, him there, frozen and unmoving. Until Belle did move, instinct taking over. Eyes still on the figure, she snaked her hand along the wall, fingertips alighting on the cool plastic of the light switch. A brief flash of hope before the wall of light, that the shadow standing in front of her would be Dad, finally home. She She flicked the switch, eyes watering in the sudden yellow glare. Belle blinked. It wasn't Dad, but it wasn't a stranger either. She knew that face, that look in its eyes. A man in his 50s, 10 years older than the last time she saw him. Dark, close-shaved hair, graying in orbits around his long ears, covered with a baseball cap. The wide-set eyes with too much white that made him look forever shocked. "You're not supposed to be here." Belle tried to keep the fear out of her voice. She failed. "We have a restraining order against you, Philip." Philip Alves smiled, finally coming to life in the light, unlocking his arms, swinging them at his sides. "Oops," he said, splitting into a laugh that sounded like a dog in pain, wheezy and unnerving. "In my defense, you weren't supposed to be here either. Thought the house was empty." Empty. The word flipped over in Belle's head. The house wasn't empty and Belle wasn't alone, because if Rachel wasn't the one sneaking around the living room, then she had to be upstairs in bed. "Rachel?" Belle called across the kitchen toward the hall. "Rachel?" Louder now. "Mom?" "She's not here," Philip said. He'd moved closer while Belle's eyes weren't there to hold him in place. "Mom?" "Rachel's not here," I said. Philip raised his voice over her shouting. "I wish you'd listen. I saw her drive away 20 minutes ago." Belle stalled, lips half-formed around the next "Mom," swallowing it down thick and gelatinous. Rachel wasn't here. Rachel had snuck out and Belle had missed her chance. Rachel was gone, and now Belle wished she wasn't for a different reason. "You've been watching the house again, Philip?" Belle lowered her voice, softening the edges, almost friendly, trying to undo the damage her shouting had caused. The air pulsed with the presence of this man pushing against her ears. Belle didn't know what he was capable of, and she didn't know if her sharp tongue would set him off. He nodded. "Since Rachel returned." Belle nodded too, cursing Miss Nelson for being right, herself for not believing her. "Okay, well, as you said, Rachel's not here right now, so maybe you can come back another time." That wheezing, hitching laugh again, eyes frozen, nightmare wide. "How's she been, your ma?" he said, wiping his mouth on the sleeve. "Since she's been back." Belle didn't know what to do, how to make him leave. Maybe she should keep him talking, keep it friendly. She texted Ash, and he might be on his way over here right now, unless he was asleep, his phone on silent. Or maybe good old Miss Nelson had seen Philip breaking in and already called the cops. Fuck, no. Belle had just told her to stop watching their house, to stick her nose out. She hadn't realized she'd need it so soon, lashed out and only hurt herself. "Hello?" Philip waved at her. "Sorry," Belle swallowed. She shouldn't keep him waiting. She could talk about Rachel until she figured out what to do, speak his language. An obsession 16 years couldn't shake, because here he was again, right where they started. "She's been fine," Belle said. "Fine?" Philip didn't like that answer. "It's been an adjustment," Belle said, reusing everyone's word, "but she's okay." "Okay?" The word cracked open in Philip's mouth. Didn't like that answer either. "Well," she said, trying, "it hasn't all been good. It's strange. Someone coming back after all that time. There's been disagreements, old things coming back up. You know." Philip made a sound in the back of his throat. "She told you anything? About where she was?" "She was kept in a basement," Belle swallowed. "She didn't know the man who took her." Philip laughed again. Okay. His hands up, fingers twitching. "And what about where she really was?" Belle scratched the back of her head, gave herself time to think. What did Philip want to hear? What would make him go away? "She was in a basement." "Okay," he said, cartoonish and mean, mocking her, head bouncing around on his neck. "So why'd your dad run away then, huh?" He took a step toward her. "Rachel Price comes home, and then a week later Charlie Price takes off. Seems suspicious, doesn't it?" "Don't tell me you think that's just a coincidence. Thought you were a smart girl." Belle felt the red-hot surge in her gut, told it that now wasn't the time. She had to keep a cool head. "My dad didn't run away," she said coolly. "Yes, he did," Philip retorted, words in one quick slur, enjoying himself. Belle took a breath to slow her heart. "Come on, Ash. Please be awake. Please be close." "No, he didn't. He wouldn't do that." Philip pressed his lips together like he was trying not to laugh again. Thank God he didn't. "Yes, he did," he said. "I saw him." Belle abandoned her next sentence. "What did you say?" she asked. His eyes flashed those strange eyes. "Now you're listening." "What do you mean you saw him?" Belle took a step forward now, regretted it. "I was watching the house," he said simply. "It was late, around 2 a.m., and I saw your dad walking out the front door. He'd packed a bag, closed the door real slow, like he didn't want to wake anyone." Belle shook her head. "When was this?" "You know when. The night your dad left. Saturday before last. He got into his truck and drove away. I was across the street. Thought he might have spotted me. Thought he'd be coming back, so I left. Belle was still shaking her head, hadn't stopped. No, that's not right. His truck was still here in the morning. How could he have driven away in it? Philip shrugged, hands hanging in the air by his ears. I don't believe you, she said. Just telling you what I saw. Was he on his own? He was on his own. A swipe of his tongue wetting his lips. Belle still didn't believe him. Philip was a liar. Of course he was a liar. He was a stalker, unhinged, lost everything because he couldn't let the mystery of Rachel Price go. Still couldn't. Still had more to lose. So tell me why you think your dad ran away. Philip perched on the lip of the sofa, settling in. He didn't. Rachel must have told you something. Belle shifted her weight onto her other leg. She told me a man took her and kept her in a basement for 16 years. Then he let her go. Bullshit. Philip spat in the whisper yell Belle remembered. You must know something. I don't, Belle said, but she did. She knew a lot more than something. But why did Philip Alves deserve those answers when no one else had given them to her? Fuck him. Tell me. He jumped up again, scratching his neck, leaving the swipe of 4 angry lines. I don't know anything. She was that 8-year-old girl again, sitting in the back seat, a stranger dressed up as a police officer screaming in her face. Come on, Philip said in that breathy shout of his, so much worse than if he just screamed. You've been living in this house with both of them. You must know something, seen something, heard something? No. Belle watched the change in Philip, the rage, red spreading from the scratches up his face. Come on, Ash. Come on, Miss Nelson. No one was coming, were they? Belle was on her own. Not quite on her own. Her phone was right here, in the right pocket of her hoodie. Could she call 911 without Philip seeing? Not really. It was a touchscreen. She couldn't try without seeing the screen. Still, she slid one hand into her pocket, touching the phone to know it was there. You have to know something. I need to know what really happened. I've waited so long. He hadn't waited as long as Belle. It wasn't his parents. It wasn't his life falling apart. A flash of anger building in the knot in her gut, but she couldn't let it out. She listened to her fear instead. Why don't you believe what Rachel says happened to her? Belle asked instead, trying to calm him down. I need a better answer. The truth. If her story was true, your dad wouldn't have taken off. Or maybe Rachel did something to him, Belle said, the truth escaping anyway. Why would she do something to him, if he hadn't done something to her first? Philip grinned, thinking he trapped her with that one. I saw him leave here, remember? She wasn't with him. Belle exhaled. My dad didn't have anything to do with Rachel's disappearance. Rachel has said that herself. He had an alibi. Sure, Philip mocked her again. He was found innocent, Belle said, holding it when she wanted to explode at him. This man who'd made her story his own, who didn't deserve any part of it. You didn't see his face when Rachel returned. He didn't know she was alive, I can promise you that. I know him better than anyone. He was at the hospital that day. Then he drove home. He wasn't involved. Philip lurched forward, doubling over with that terrible wheezing laugh, the sound creeping through her. She gripped the phone harder. What are you laughing at? She asked, not sure she wanted to know, scared that Philip Alves was the end point of the way she'd chosen for herself. Did she sound like this when she talked about Rachel? You know, Philip said, still laughing. This isn't the first time I've been inside this house. Almost got caught then, too. What are you talking about? Belle shifted her weight again, legs fizzing. When I was here 16 years ago. Got in the same way. The catch on that window is broken, by the way. He pointed over his shoulder. You should get that fixed. Anyway, his eyes stretched wider somehow, unblinking. I thought I'd find some clues while nobody was in. The police were starting to look at your dad, April, I think, before his arrest. I knew it was supposed to be me to find out who killed Rachel. I was in the kitchen when I heard a car pull up. I didn't have time to make it outside, so I went upstairs. Into the first door I saw. Turned out to be your bedroom, a crib in the corner. Belle's safe space. Maybe it had never really been all that safe. I hid in your room listening. Charlie came to the front door. He was with someone, another man. I didn't recognize his voice. I couldn't hear everything, but they were arguing about something. Shh, don't wake Annabelle, your dad said, so you must have been there too. Philip wasn't looking at her. He was staring at a point just beyond her shoulder, lost in the memory. Maybe now was Belle's chance while he was distracted. She shuffled back, hiding one arm behind the archway into the kitchen, swapping the hands in her front pocket. I didn't hear a lot. They were being quiet for your sake. Philip said, like it was her fault. Belle closed her fingers around her phone, started to drag it slowly out the other side. But Charlie was angry, because he knew the police were looking at him as their main suspect. He shouted one thing, and I heard. I'd never forget. Philip still hadn't blinked, his strange eyes watering over. Belle glanced down, sliding the phone screen clear of her pocket. It couldn't see her face, asked for a passcode instead, but Belle thumbed the emergency button. Philip still wasn't watching, clearing his throat for the next part. Your dad said, I don't care if you're sorry. We agreed 2 o'clock. You didn't keep to the time, and now look what's happened. The keypad was open. Belle pressed 9, thumb floating toward the 1, eyes starting up to check she was clear. She wasn't. She stifled a gasp, turned it into a cough. Philip was staring at her, waiting for a response, but he couldn't see what her left hand was doing behind this wall. That could have been about anything. Belle held his gaze, but she couldn't find the one without her eyes. He was probably talking about something that day, someone being late for lunch or something. Philip's neck cricked, a one-sided twitch in his cheek. They were talking about Rachel, about the police investigation, he said, like he thought he'd trapped her again. Rachel disappeared around 6 o'clock, she countered, eyes itching to look down, watering. She let them, finding the 1, pressing it twice as she returned her gaze. But your dad's alibi began at 2 o'clock, didn't it? Philip smiled. That's when he cut his hand. Belle pretended to think about that, dropping her eyes, but they didn't reach the floor, catching on her phone instead. She found the call button at the bottom, thumb following her gaze to it. Hey, what are you doing there? A rush of heavy feet, and Philip was on top of her. He slammed his hand down into hers, and the phone crashed onto the tiles. What were you doing there? Trying to call the police? His eyes were on fire now, fingers gripped around Belle's wrist, squeezing too hard. No, Belle struggled against his iron grip, the adrenaline hiding the pain from her. I was trying to show you something, evidence I found, about Rachel. Oh, Philip pulled back, mouth still formed around the ghost of the sound as he let her go. He turned to where the phone had skidded, reached down for it. Fuck you, Belle growled, locking her bones and charging at Philip. He shouldn't have turned his back on her. She wasn't 8 anymore, or that abandoned baby in the back seat. She shoved him, and he fell, rolling with the momentum. Belle didn't wait to see the look of shock in his eyes. She flew toward the back door, forcing the handle down. Philip had got up too fast. She felt the disturbed air behind her. She pulled the door as he grabbed her ponytail, jerking her head back, exposing her neck. Belle's arm shot up, elbow first. She slammed it into his face right between those eyes, heard a crunch. Philip shrieked, slapping his hands to his bleeding face. Belle slipped outside the open door into the dark night, crossed the patio in 3 strides onto the wet grass, soaking through her socks. Help, she screamed, help! Her ponytail jolted back again, ripping at her scalp. She slipped with the force of it falling to the grass, the air knocked out of her in one desperate rasp. Philip dropped too, pinning her wrist to the ground. What evidence do you have? He panted, blood dripping from his nose onto her face, sliding into her hair. What do you know? Help! Belle screamed. Miss Nelson! Philip let go of one of her wrists, slapping his palm against her mouth to silence her. The salted blood in his clammy hands, but he couldn't hold her mouth and both her hands at the same time. She reached up, fingers outstretched, scrabbling at his strange eyes. Her nails scraped something soft and wet. Philip screeched, squinting, holding both her wrists again, releasing her mouth. Tell me what you know, he roared. I don't know anything. She pushed against the grass, trying to buck him off. Come on, Miss Nelson. Come on, Ash. Help her. Please. I need to know. His scream pulled at the tendons on his neck, sinewy and red raw. Fuck you, Belle spat in his face, forced a knee into his chest. You don't need to know. I do. Why the fuck do you deserve the answers? Tell me. No. A scream, but it wasn't Belle and it wasn't Philip. 2 pale hands shot out of the darkness. Philip was thrown off her, rolling in the moonlit grass. Belle looked up, breath fast and ragged. Rachel was standing there against the starless sky. Her eyes were glittering and mean, mouth bared, showing all her teeth. She glared down at Philip and roared again. A desperate, terrible sound, but Belle wasn't afraid anymore, wasn't alone. I'll kill you, Rachel screamed. She doubled back, grabbing the rake from the patio. Touch my daughter, I'll fucking kill you. She raised the rake above her head, stumbling toward Philip. She was going to do it. She was. Rachel swung, but Philip scrabbled back, the rake catching one of his ankles. he screeched. Rachel dragged it back to go again. Philip didn't give her the chance. He pushed up to his feet and bolted across the dark grass into the trees at the back, disappearing into the night. Rachel dropped the rake. Belle sat up. Rachel's eyes whipped back to her, not mean anymore, still glittering. She hurried over, falling to her knees at Belle's side. "Are you okay?" she said, gently holding the sides of Belle's head. "You're hurt." Belle glanced down at her gray hoodie, stained with spatters of red. "It's not mine," she said. "Think I broke his nose." "Are you okay?" Rachel asked again, and maybe she didn't mean the blood after all. "Fine," Belle's voice cracked. "Where were you?" "I'm sorry." Rachel pulled Belle closer, arms around her, one hand pressed to the back of her head, like it was made to fit right there. "I'm sorry." Belle wanted to push her away, but she also wanted to stay like this for a moment longer, exhausted, the shakes coming on, Rachel warm against them. Belle's body betraying her, forgetting that it was Rachel they were supposed to be scared of. "It was Philip Alves," she said, giving herself a reason to pull away. "The police told you about him, right? The one who was obsessed with you, with the case, the one who took me when I was 8. Rachel watched her closely, no stars in the sky, but there were in her eyes. "I won't let him near you again, I promise," Rachel said. "My job, to protect you." "You weren't here," Belle's voice shrank. "I need to call the police," Rachel said, wiping her eyes. She rubbed a hand down Belle's sleeve and straightened up. "Then we'll get you inside, okay?" Rachel swiped at her phone, raised it to her ear. Belle could hear the dial tone ringing, splintering the quiet night like their screams must have done. A click. "Officer Winter?" Rachel turned, facing the back of their house. "It's Rachel Price. It's an emergency. Philip Alves was just in our house. He attacked Belle." "I'm fine," Belle called in the background, standing up, wiping wet grass from her legs. "Yes," Rachel said in answer to some unheard question. "Yes, another." "He ran off through the backyard. Send officers now. You have to get him." Rachel turned back, eyes picking Belle out of the darkness. The yellow glow of inside lit up half her face, the gray light of the moon on the other. She breathed then. "It's him, Dave. Philip Alves. The one you're looking for. The man who took me."